As-Salaam Alaikum and welcome back to the mini-series Muhammad's Economic Blueprint, Black Students in Science and Business. Praise be to Allah. My name is Brother Kashta and I have the honor of opening us up today. And so just as we have done before and as we are taught within the Nation of Islam, before we do anything of value, we want to call on the God. So at this time, please take a position of prayer and we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live, Thee do we serve and Thee do we beseech for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom the wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after hearing Thine teachings. Ameen. Praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. And I'd like to greet everyone watching in the words of peace and paradise, as we say in the Arabic language, As-Salaam Alaikum. Again, my name is Brother Kashta, and I've been helping to moderate this wonderful mini-series, Muhammad's Economic Blueprint, Black Students in Science and Business. And tonight, we have a wonderful guest on. And so if you have been tuned in for the previous episodes, you've had the opportunity to hear from Brother Khalid and Brother Chabrian. You've had the opportunity to have Brother Aaron interview Brother Diari and Brother Lakeem. And tonight, you're going to hear from the sister side. You'll have Sister Joy and Sister Niali. Praise be to Allah. Thank you again for all tuning in on this wonderful weekend. But I would be remiss if I didn't take the time to thank the visionary of the 9 Ministries of the South, and a visionary in his own right, and moving out on the word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. As it leaves his mouth, it goes right into his city and then out to the people. And I speak none other than of Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharrieff Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. We thank you for allowing us this wonderful platform to come before you as the Ministry of Science and Technology in partnership with the Ministry of Trade and Commerce and the 9 Ministries. So without further ado, family, let us go ahead and get into the thicket of the night and of the subject at hand. We are returning to Muhammad's Economic Blueprint. For those who do not know, this is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is the eternal father and leader of the Nation of Islam, and he put forward the economic blueprint of which this platform's namesake is taken from. And so, in every issue of the Final Call newspaper, in the back you can find what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. And on these points, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad delivered exactly what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe, in establishing independence for the black family in the wilderness of North America. So, in his publication, Message to the Black Men in America, he expounds upon many of these points, and then we come to an economic blueprint in the section Program and Position. And so I will return to that specific chapter and economic blueprint and go back over those key points that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned in relation to this blueprint. The following blueprint shows the way. 1. Recognize the necessity for unity and group operation activities. 2. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. 3. Stop wanton criticisms of everything that is black-owned and black-operated. 4. Keep in mind jealousy destroys from within. And 5. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. He continued and said, if there are 6 or 8 Muslims with knowledge and experience of the grocery business, pool your knowledge. If there are those with knowledge of dressmaking, merchandising, trades, maintenance, pool such knowledge. In a later chapter, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad continues, titled The Economic Program 2. And he begins, as I noted previously, on matters of economics, there is entirely too much distrust among us. We trust everyone but ourselves. We therefore have to build or produce trust in ourselves in order to do something for self and kind. We cannot depend on the white man to continue to care for us and build a future of good for us and our children. Praise be to Allah. So you've just heard from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man in regards to the economic blueprint. And so now I'm going to seal my lips for the time being and introduce our wonderful interview for the night, Sister Joy X. Praise be to Allah. As-Salaam Alaikum. Let's see, we have a little bit of technical difficulty. Sister Joy, are you able to come off of mute? Let's see.
I'm sorry, do you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. As-Salaam Alaikum.
Yes, sir. Alaikum salam. So, as I was saying, yes, sir, my name is Sister Joy X. I currently reside in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'm also 18 years old as well.
Walaikum salam. Praise be to Allah. And so, without further ado, family, we would like to welcome on our wonderful guest for tonight, a well-crafted, well-serving culinary scientist and entrepreneur. So we welcome Sister Niali Muhammad, and I turn it over to Sister Joy for conducting the interview.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So to start us off, can you start off by introducing yourself and your business, Sister Niali?
As-Salaam. My name is Niali Muhammad, and I am the owner of the Bougie Baker, which is a plant-based and all alternative dietary restrictions bakery that is based in Savannah, Georgia.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So I know with most people with their businesses, they always struggle to start one and to also finish it. So what was your personal journey when starting and also finishing your own business?
The hardest part about starting my business was I am a cottage bakery, so I'm able to bake out of my home and sell to the public, but only under certain circumstances. So getting that certification actually took a year before I could even start selling to people. And that was, to me, the hardest part. You also have to become certified as a food handler in the state of Georgia, and you have to take a course and test in order to get that certification.
May I ask, how long was the certification process?
The certification process maybe took about a month just to make sure I wanted to study and get all the material, mastered before I took the test.
Yes, ma'am.
So as the Bougie Baker, how do you plan to serve the communities with that certification?
In the long run, hopefully in the future, I plan to implement a program in my bakery. I call it HOPE, and I want to help our people eat. That's what HOPE stands for me. And I want to essentially, some of the profits that go towards my bakery go into buying food to donate to shelters for children and runaway teenagers.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. So is that what inspired you to start the business?
A part of it, I always loved baking, and I needed a career that I knew I would love because for the longest time, I wanted to go into the medical field. But I was like, I just don't want to go through all that years of schooling just to get that degree. And, it was actually my mom that really made me consider baking. And she was like, you love to bake. Why not just do that for the rest of your life? And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yes.
Praise be to Allah.
So earlier in the conversation, you mentioned how you got your certification and how you want to teach others that. As of now, do you teach any youth and adults?
Every now and then I do like cooking classes online, helping as a volunteer guest for my mom's program because she does online cooking classes. And I do guest sessions in which I teach about, the best sugars to use that are best for your baked goods and healthier for you, and how to make pie crust and things like that.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. So with the 9 ministries, I know baking is it's kind of its own sector. So what inspired you or motivated you to get involved with the 9 ministries and to include your business within that?
Well, actually, it was Brother Kareem. He's over the Nine Ministry Youth for Arts and Culture, and he approached me asking if I wanted to join, because he was like, cooking and baking in itself is an art, and I was like, you're right, and I would love to join, and it really just helps me push, show people the connection that cooking and baking, it takes time and patience, and it is an art that needs to be mastered.
So how has that helped you master the art of patience? What has it helped you with patience along the way, or is it something that kind of complements it?
It definitely has helped me become more patient. I am somewhat of a perfectionist, but I'm also very impatient. So I really needed to balance those two. And it really helped me, take a step back. If it doesn't turn out, it's okay. Some certain baked items takes 2 days before you can even see the finished product. And it really takes me, patience to, analyze and, step back, and it's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Joy, if I may interrupt at this time, uh, you mentioned step back and analyze it. So I would like the audience to see what it is that you're exactly analyzing. So we have a link to your social media, the Bougie Baker on Instagram. And I just want to show the audience some of the products that you produce. So I'll flip through and you could give a little description of what we're seeing and things of that nature. So, okay, it looks like what are we looking at, Sister Ali?
So this was my first attempt at chantilly cake, which is a vanilla sponge with a rich cream frosting, and it comes with fresh berries. And there's also a glaze that you have to make in between each layer.
Wow.
My first attempt. So to me, this one is not my favorite, but I like to keep it, as a reminder to see where I've come.
Yes, ma'am. How many do you think you've made since?
Since this photo,
Yes.
maybe 10,
Yes, ma'am.
10 to 12.
Okay.
One of the things that I really like to focus on is making vegan products, because I've been vegetarian my whole life. And a lot of baked goods nowadays, processed or even home baked, have a lot of animal byproducts that I do not eat, and I don't really want to incorporate that into my baking. So this is some vegan cinnamon rolls I had an order for.
Wow. Completely vegan. So from dough all the way to uh, syrup topping,
Mhm.
everything's wow. I don't know how you do that, but that's awesome.
This was one of the orders I had for cupcakes as a business owner that's pretty young and still in school. One of the challenges I do have is with custom orders for large quantities. Ordering 500 cupcakes due on a Tuesday that I also have a paper due, it gets challenging. And that's another thing that makes me realize about patience. You have to plan out your day before you can even start.
Yes, ma'am. So what size orders of cupcakes do you usually receive? Is it a dozen or
The lowest ones I've had can come from like 2 to 3 cupcakes, but the largest one I had was 200 cupcakes.
wow, 200? Yes, ma'am.
One of the challenges, so this is another option I like to keep up here as a reminder to see where I've come from, because this was a vegan s'mores cake that I was bound and determined to master. And this is one of my first attempts. And, with marshmallows having gelatin and me wanting to incorporate the s'mores flavor, I had to use aquafaba as a substitute, the leftover water from soaked beans. And, being able to whip that into the peak, it took a lot of time and science to get it to form those hard peaks that I wanted.
Yes, ma'am. Well, this is amazing. I'm sure I'll return to this before we close out, most definitely. But I'll turn it over to Sister Joy for the remainder. So thank you for indulging.
Yes, sir. So that was very, very impressive. So you mentioned a lot about challenges and how you have to try to manage that, you know, with school, being a student and everything. So why do you think it's important or imperative for youth, especially young people, to start their own businesses? And what good do you think that would do for the Nation of Islam and, of course, Black communities?
You know, in the nation, is taught to do for self, and I've always had that concept built into my brain, all praise to Allah, by the teachings as well as from my mother. You know, do for self, and I also want to create. You know, community as a whole is very important, especially if we want to get generational wealth as a Black community. You know, it doesn't have to start with me, but it can, and that's where I want to head. You know, it doesn't have to like stop now. We need to keep going. So
Mm.
even if this business, like Allah forbid, this business does not go well, that should not deter me from, you know, trying again to create that generational, and my children and my grandchildren, you know, keep going forward and forward.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. So, with that being said, what quotes and lectures, books, um, any of the following, what do you think could help get people started, or even myself get started with my own business?
Honestly, the biggest influence I had for building my business was YouTube. Watching videos about my state and how to get certification, watching videos on how to do certain techniques, how to manage my like my sales and my product distribution, how to manage my website. You know, all of it is through YouTube. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I watched many YouTube videos on how to build websites, how to, you know, accurately, you know, what am my gross product, you know, how to do that. Like, all that is from YouTube, and that's the biggest suggestion I can give.
So, this is a personal question for me. So, I know when I get on YouTube or TikTok or social media with the goal or purpose, I automatically kind of forget that goal and purpose and get distracted by other things that come up in my feed. So, how do you keep that focus and keep that discipline to be able to move
So
forward?
I am the biggest daydreamer. I will completely zone out, go off topic in an instant. And one of the biggest things that helped me is setting alarms, setting timers. I have so many alarms and timers for like every hour of my day planned. You know, keeping it personal, like digitally, is what works best for me. But for others, it might not. I love TikTok. You know, I like to make TikToks. I like to watch TikTok. Setting limits on how long you can be on there per day, you know, really helps me like not get so sucked in.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. So, speaking of TikToks and entertainment, what are some of your favorite baking and cooking shows?
My favorite show is The Great British Bake Off. I've watched that show like every episode repeats a lot. If there's a product there that I want to try, I get the idea from the British baking show. And even if I haven't, and if I've made it in culinary school and I see the contestants working, I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. Are they doing it right? Are they doing it wrong? You know, I like to quiz myself along with this show. Another show I really enjoy is, I think it's called Sugar Art. I know it's on Netflix, and it deals with creating blown sugar artworks for your decorations.
I'm gonna have to add that to my add that to my Netflix.
Watch list. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If I could interrupt, is that fine, Sister Joy? Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask, because we can tell at least a little bit by your voice, Sister Nelly, and we know How to Eat to Live in the Nation of Islam, it keeps the black, from never, it will never crack. So we remain youthful in the Nation of Islam. But indulge the audience and explain how is it being a young business owner, uh, whenever you're out vending or pushing your product or giving a sales pitch, are you well received in your city, in your state?
Well, I'm a 19, so one of the biggest things I do have is with my age, especially with vending. I vend at the farmers market on Saturdays, and my mom, she comes out and helps me sell products. And I can't think of a time where someone thinks it's not my business. And my mom always corrects them, like, no, 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 no. I'm just the sales representative. This is her business. Also with getting people to try my products, they're a little skeptical. They don't think I know, like, if I'm familiar with my concept. Like, I don't want like to step on your toes, but they'll be like, "You didn't make this." I'm like, "Yes, I did." So I definitely have a little bit of age discrimination, but I honestly, it fuels me even more to like prove them wrong. Like, I like being right, so that's my drive.
All praises due to Allah. And if I could extend the question, uh, as well as being a young black woman, is there any barriers? Uh, of course, in the city of Savannah, there's a lot of black business that goes on, and within the state of Georgia. But is there any barriers that you have to overcome in that regard?
With all black businesses, there's always that issue of people not wanting to trust you. And we get that a lot, even at the farmers market. Like, I love the farmers market, and I'm happy and all praise due to Allah for the opportunity. But I do have trouble getting people to trust me as a black business owner.
Hmm. Yes, ma'am. Uh, and so I'll round it off with, what ways do you think would be beneficial to curb that or to overcome that? Say if you were speaking to a young black girl or a young black woman who was interested in, one, culinary arts, and two, being an entrepreneur, what would you want to say to them?
Well, the first thing I would say is that cooking is part of our culture, and you don't disrespect someone's culture. And sometimes people will try to disrespect it, but you shouldn't take that as a way to stop. You know, really take it as fuel, like I said. I want to prove them wrong. Same thing with running a business. You want to, like the naysayers, you want to prove them wrong. That should fuel you to show them, like, you know what you're talking about. You want to be top dog.
Praise be to Allah. And if I could give one small correction, I'll say you want to be top God. So thank you, Sister Niali.
Thank
Uh, we very much appreciate it. You have very good presence in an interview setting and sharing what it is that you do, how you represent yourself, how you represent the Nation of Islam, and how you represent your family. I know that you spoke about your family being a huge help to you. So uh, that's this has been amazing. The only other thing I could ask is, what do your parents say with what it is that you're doing?
The biggest thing my parents say is, when will they get paid? But I would like to say I pay them in love and future awesome retirement trips. But I would also like to say they are the biggest supporters, as well as my mosque. My first customers were the believers at my mosque. So that's always that you need to give back to the mosque as well.
All praises due to Allah. Well, thank you very much again, Sister Niali and the Bougie Baker, and all those who are helping behind the scenes, mom and dad, sister and brother. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sister Joy, for conducting the interview. And so this rather much, it concludes our mini series, Muhammad's Economic Blueprint. And so I would like the audience to get the chance to reach out to our panelists for today's show. So if you are interested in any of the products from the Bougie Baker, I believe this is the website, correct? The
Yes.
Bougie Baker GA for Georgia .com. So go to the Bougie Baker Georgia ga.com, and you can find all the products available, or you can place a specific order. And if you need some reference material, you can do as we did and go to @thebougie_baker on Instagram. That's @thebougie_baker on Instagram. So thank you very much, Sister Nyali. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here.
Praise be to Allah. In addition to that, family, if you are interested in joining the 9 ministries, you can find more information about the ministries by going to noi.org and go to the tab titled The Ministries. On here, you can find all the information related to the ministries as put forward by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at a Savior's Day event, and specifically for each one of the 9 ministries. And so if you're interested in joining the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, as this is Muhammad's economic blueprint, you can email srministryoftradeandcommerce@gmail.com. That's all spelled out across the bottom of the screen. Again, that's srministryoftradeandcommerce@gmail.com. Or you can go to their Instagram, which is Ministry of Trade and Commerce, all spelled out. And if you're interested in the Ministry of Science and Technology, you can email us at noisrmost@gmail.com. And the same for our Instagram, which is @noisrmost. And so again, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity. We had a very great weekend from all the panelists that we had online. And so, inshallah, you'll be seeing from them and hearing from them in the future with regards to what it is that they do, what it is they represent, and the 9 ministries. So without further ado, family, we will go ahead and close out in prayer, and this will conclude Muhammad's economic blueprint. As-Salaam Alaikum, family. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee do we serve, and Thee do we beseech for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after hearing Thine teachings. Ameen. As-Salaam Alaikum.